Tony. I am back with another amazing episode of Women In. I'm so excited for you to meet my guest today, but before we do that, let me tell you what you're listening to. Women In is a podcast that celebrates women and the individuals in their lives who are lifting them up. You're going to hear from all kinds of super cool people in my life, and they're going to share their stories to inspire others to support all the extraordinary women around them. This is a space to be disruptive, forward-thinking, and change agents for humankind. It is uncensored, fun, and curiosity-driven. This is what I'm passionate about, breaking down the barriers for my kids' generation. It's equal parts about my guests and the places we came into each other's lives, whether it be the Kalamazoo Wings, Mindfulness Elevated, Tony Will Coaching, or you happen to be in my family and friends circle. My guest today is the fantastic Mocktail MO. Mocktail MO has been at the center of alcohol-free lifestyle since 2019. When a developed intolerance to alcohol sent her to urgent care and ended her alcohol consumption entirely. Since then, Mo has made it her mission to bust down the walls that divide those who abstain from alcohol for any reason and conventional hospitality. She firmly believes that there is an equal room at the table for those who enjoy a quality adult beverage, no matter the proof. And we're going to talk about more where you can find Mo at the end of our podcast session, but she's an awesome YouTube channel. So, hi, Mo.
Hi. Hi, Tony.
It's so good to have you on. And I am just so excited to dive into all the things that you do and the busting down the walls that you've been doing in the alcohol space. So first, before we dive into that, tell everyone how we met.
Well, we sat next to each other at dinner at the Sober in the City event in Scottsdale, Arizona, and discovered that we had a few things in common, and it was a lovely little chat we had there. Yeah.
Yes, it was. And it seems like sometimes I meet the best people around when I'm standing in line for food or waiting to sit at a table to eat food. It's like breaking bread, and that's what we did. Yeah.
That is exactly what we did.
Where do you tell everyone where you live? Where are you coming to me from today?
I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, so I am really very much in the center of the country. And it's sort of considered the South, but I am in the middle of the country.
And is this where you're from, or are you from somewhere else?
Well, I grew up here, and then I left as soon as I was 18 and lived in New York for a while, and then moved to Los Angeles and lived there for a while, and then came back to raise my child. And then, no, actually, no. And then I left and lived in Florida for a little bit, and then came back and raised my child.
Well, that's all. I mean, you're like a boomerang. You had to, fly around a little bit and you come home. So
I don't think I'm finished, though. I think that I will depart here and go somewhere else for more chapters.
Oh, awesome. I love that. I love that spirit of being, picking up and starting in a new community and having that courage, because not everyone did that. I'm born and raised here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I never left thus far.
Okay. I don't think it's for everyone. It's, but I don't know. I get restless.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I get it. I get that. So talk to me about why you agreed to be on this podcast. What spoke to you about Women In and our conversation? You're like, yeah, I'll do this with Tony.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the title was Women In, and then you said it is women in your life, you being in other people's lives, and how the women in your life influence you. And I just thought, oh yeah, I want to talk about that, because in the moment, it was a weekend of a lot of feminine energy and a lot of spiritual healing personally for me. And in the moment when we were talking, it was sort of the culmination of the weekend at that dinner. And I was just sort of sitting in gratitude of what I had received, because I got there in a really bad mood. And then over the course of a few days, was really enjoying my time with new people, just dropping in on conversations and in loving what I was hearing. So that was sort of what made me think, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's have fun and talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And you even said to me, you're like, yeah, I wasn't in the greatest mood when we were chatting at dinner, and because it was hot. It was so hot.
It was. And when they say it's okay because it's dry, for me, it was the dryness that was sort of killing me. I felt like I was cooking from the inside out. Yeah, I was kind of miserable for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love though that you were like, you just owned it and you're like, yeah, I just was in a bad mood, and just calling it out and labeling it. I think sometimes we feel like as women, we have to be always smiling and on and gracious and kind and all these things. And it's okay just to be in a bad mood. Like, it happens to all of us. And I have a lot of respect for people who just say, yeah, this is where I'm at. And I'm like, cool, I get it.
Yeah. Well, it's true, because we all are there at some point. We all can understand what that is. So, yeah.
Yep. So your story with alcohol is really interesting, as we heard in your bio. You developed an alcohol intolerance, and that led to alcohol-free living and a lot of the work you're doing, which I want to talk a lot about. So why don't you take us back to that time where in 2019, where you learned you had this alcohol intolerance? Like, what was that experience? And then that transition from knowing, okay, I need to remove alcohol from my life, and then entering this whole alcohol-free living and understanding there's so many stigmas and stereotypes that you're working to break down, as I am, and a lot of these women that we're together in Sober in the City. So a big question, but I'll let you take it from there, and I want to hear all about it.
Okay. Well, starting from the beginning, it took me, I think, a couple of years to figure it out, because I had seen one doctor in the beginning and said, I'm getting migraines. I don't understand what's going on. And it just so happened that it was happening on weekends, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I was at a conference and had white wine and did not see the conference because I was in bed sick for 2 days. And I thought, well, I must be allergic to white wine. And sort of experimented, and about 6 weeks later, I had one glass of red wine and had the same reaction and thought, oh, well, I must be allergic to wine or the ingredients in it or something like that. And I was never a very big drinker. And so I think that's why it took me so long to understand what was going on. And long story short, the last drink I had was about a year or so later. I had an old fashioned with friends, and then we all went to another restaurant and shared nachos out of the same plate. And I thought I was going to die the next day. And my friends tried to talk me into going to the hospital, but I was out of town, and I said, no, drive me home. And then I went to urgent care, and they thought I had norovirus. And I told them no, because norovirus is really, really highly contagious. And I had spent the evening sharing food with friends, and no one was sick but me. And I realized it was the alcohol. It was that old fashioned that made me so sick. And I sort of did the thing that you do and Googled and researched and did things like that. And I went to another doctor, and he decided, and he said to me, well, I think you're not washing your hands enough. And I just was like, okay, really? Because here's the thing. In my day job life, I work at a medical school, and I teach medical students how to wash their hands. I am very proficient at hand washing. And I've left that appointment saying, I just want to make this clear. You're telling me that I don't wash my hands enough, and that's why I'm so sick. And he said, yes. And I said, okay. And that was the last time I saw him. I never went back. I did talk to a doctor friend who is an emergency room doctor, and I talked to her about it and said, these were the symptoms, and this is what's going on. And she confirmed it for me. She said, you have an intolerance to alcohol. It's not an allergy. You are becoming intolerant to it. And it has everything to do with liver enzymes and breaking down ethanol and all of that. I think it has something to do with age. And the more I listen to people's stories, the more in common I think I have with other people, other women particularly, who reach a point in their lives where it's not only not serving them, it makes them ill. So I think a lot of people get to a point where they don't drink alcohol because it's a health problem. It's like if you're lactose intolerant, you will stop drinking milk and quit with the dairy products. It was that sort of thing. So speed forward, and I was feeling sorry for myself because I had nothing to celebrate with. And it is a social thing. We all, no matter what, when you hear a cork pop on a bottle of champagne, the response is, woo! Listen, in the room, everybody does that. It is an exciting, celebratory feeling when you pop that bottle open. And I was sad because I no longer had that in my life. And I went on a search for restaurants and bars or any establishment that might have that sort of thing. And that's when Mocktail MO was born. And I just went into restaurants and said, hi, I'm Mocktail MO. And what are you doing for alcohol free? And of course, back in 2019, there was nothing at all. There was O'Doul's. Right. And you had to sort of suck it up and like that. And so the pandemic happened. And right at that time, all of these brands started coming online. And all of these makers and producers of alcohol-free drinks around the globe were starting to pop up. And during lockdown, I got to know all of these wonderful people across the world because we were all on Zoom together saying, oh my gosh, what's going on? And what do you do? And they were giving us lectures on, I learned about terpenes and what that means and just all of these things. It was wonderful. And when we all started getting back into our old lives and going out, now my mission is I am a customer. I am feeling left out. I am not alone. And we as customers are feeling left out. And I have made it my mission to go to establishments and just talk to them and start that conversation and say, you don't know it yet, but there is clientele here that is desperately searching for this, and you are not providing it yet. And some are trying to sort of, as I say, they're sort of standing at the water, they see the pool is there, and they're offering juice and club soda as a mocktail, and they're charging, or lemonade with lavender syrup or whatever, and they're charging high dollar amounts, cocktail prices for what I consider soft drinks. And I am just making it my one woman campaign to change that and to elevate that, and so that no matter what you have in your glass, you are having the same experience. So that's kind of my whole thing is I want us all to be comfortable, to feel welcome, to be a part of everything, to be able to go, woo, when the cork pops open and it is odd bird, blanc de blanc, and we're enjoying ourselves. So anyway, that's what
Well,
I'm about.
Well, so what I love about your story is it's not some of the traditional ones that you hear quite often when you're at these sober workshops or retreats or any of that, because you came to alcohol with an allergy and intolerance, and that's where it brought you to reevaluate what you were doing. So did you find, was it did you feel that stigma at all, that some of us who are like, I was a gray area drinker or I was a blackout drinker, did you still feel that stigma, or did it help you to be around those of us who are like me? I was Tony Party Time. I mean, I made myself allergic to alcohol because I drank too damn much of it. But so did it feel different to you, or did it feel like, oh, these are my people?
Both. It felt like these are my people and I love them. I don't share their story. I did have to. My first sober in the city was in Austin. And I don't know, this group of women swooped me up and took me under their wing. And they were like, you're going to hang with us this weekend. I was like, yes, I am. And they were all talking about their sober dates and things like that. And I did not have one. I don't remember if it was the spring or the fall. I just don't really remember. And there were differences. And I had to work my way through that and process that, because I did not want to say I'm sober. I didn't want to be a liar. I felt like an imposter, and I really wanted to sort of clarify that for myself. Because it didn't feel genuine to say I'm leading the way for sober women. I think there are a lot of people in the space that do in amazing ways, like Jen Couch with Sober Sis and Heather Lowe with Ditch the Drink. They are amazing women, and they really do speak to sobriety in a place that I feel uncomfortable speaking for that group. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. Well, and your group is important too. And that's why I love that. I mean, you're the first person I've actually met, talked to about your story, which and that's, I know you're not the only person in the world that has an intolerance to alcohol, because there are people, like you mentioned, lactose intolerant or gluten intolerance, or you're not alone. And that's why I love this discussion, because there are different tentacles to this living alcohol-free space. It just isn't about those of us who had, in my case, alcohol use disorder, to the person who maybe drinks once a month and doesn't like the relationship with alcohol. So you bring another perspective, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's welcome in this. I'm glad we're talking about it, and you're talking about it, along with making it your mission to go to these places and say, hey, restaurateur, you're missing out on a key market here.
Yes. I had dinner last night, and it was so good. And I had water because that was all there was. And I was talking to my husband about that, saying he was having a glass of rosé because he does drink alcohol and I don't. And I was saying it would be so amazing to have this, to be on the same level as you and having the same experience with a glass of wine. It just, no alcohol in it. It would have been that much better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So what are some of your tips for someone that is listening to this, and, they might be not as courageous and bold and as brave as you are, and you're like, listen, I don't drink and I want to have options beyond water, and having these conversations with the decision makers at these restaurants? What are some tips that you like to give to people who maybe want to have one dinner alcohol free and just don't know how? Where do they start?
My tip would be, if you have a favorite brand that you particularly like to drink at home, go to your favorite restaurants and ask for that. And maybe even if you're friendly with the staff, bring it with you and introduce it to them and say, specifically, this is what I would love to see on your menu, so that it takes the guesswork out for them. They don't have to worry about, am I wasting a whole lot of money on stuff that I don't understand? If their clientele comes in with a very specific request, you are helping them. And I had a conversation with someone recently who was accidentally served alcohol and felt guilty to go back and say, I don't want this. I asked for this. And my response was, you are absolutely helping the establishment. If you say, I don't drink alcohol, there are a lot of other people who don't drink alcohol who love where what you were serving, everything else that you're serving. Try to do better. I mean, and I don't think it's unkind or mean to help guide them to their clients, their patrons, what they want. I think that it's really helpful to do that, but be specific. Don't just be general and say,
Yes.
I wish you would, because there's so many products out there to choose from that it's overwhelming for someone who is in the liquor business, who doesn't really care all that much, to have to wade through all of that. So that would be my number one recommendation, is be specific, help them out.
Well, and that makes sense because it's coming from a place of curiosity and then education. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people, we're in the minority as non-drinkers, and that's, mm-hmm. The sober curious movement's taken a big uptick over the last 5 years or so, mm-hmm. 6 years ish. Mm-hmm. And, but they may not be in that space. So it's okay for people like you and I to say, hey, have you considered? And here's some brands that I recommend. I mean, I sit on the steering committee for the National Sports Forum, and we have a ton of networking events. Anheuser-Busch is a key sponsor. Yeah. So I said, listen, there are a lot of people like me who no longer drink or don't want to drink. Can we get Bud Zero there? And they were like, absolutely, Tony. And no one has ever brought that up. And there were so many people coming to thank me for simply stepping up and saying, can we have an alcohol-free option?
That's the part that they're not understanding, is if you provide it and you open the space up for that, more people than you imagine will take it. They will take that beverage happily. And because like you said, and you touched on it, you don't necessarily have to be in recovery or sobriety. It is also kind of becoming the darling in hospitality, is alcohol-free stuff. And it's sort of the next big thing. So people who drink alcohol are trying it out just to see what it's like. And I love that. And I think that they will be surprised as a venue how many people opt for it.
Oh, there were so many people that were surprised. They're like, Tony, we ran out. I'm like, I'm not surprised at all. And I just happen to be similar to you, where I'm willing to say, I want to speak up because I don't feel shame. I used to, but I don't now, after years of work. And the more you talk about it out loud, the more you find out. I mean, you go to one event like Sober in the City and you're like, oh my gosh, like, look at all these fabulous women. And we're all in the same space in the sense of our lifestyle choices. We're fabulous. We're not flawed. I mean, we're flawed, but not drinking doesn't make us less than. It actually, yeah. So
yeah. It just puts us in a different space.
I want to hear.
And that's all.
Exactly. Okay, you've done a ton on social media, your YouTube channel about all this. So tell my listeners and me all about this, because you just get on camera and you're doing awesome stuff. So tell me about that work and what you're doing there.
Um, so the YouTube channel is a step for me. It's something that I really, really would love to do more of. I have this dream of doing a traveling show. Have you ever seen the show Somebody Feed Phil?
I haven't.
No. Well, it's this man, Phil Rosenthal, who goes around the whole country and tries food. But the bottom line for him is we can all come together over food at the same table. Really, that's his message. And that is how I feel about let's get together for drinks as friends. I'll meet you at whatever and we'll go get some drinks. I want to do a show about and educating people about alcohol free and getting together with friends for drinks that are alcohol free. And just to kind of model that behavior so that the rest of the world sees it's not scary, it's not weird, it's not really that out of the ordinary for people to share an experience together, and it just does not have alcohol in it. So anyway, that it's the start. The YouTube channel is the beginning for me, and I just also started a Substack writing about those things. So they're just kind of different facets of the same. I think deep down in my heart, I'm an educator. I think that's sort of my mission.
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's beautiful. And I love that. And the Substack. So is it called Mocktail Mo on the Substack?
I think it is Mocktail Mo at substack.com or .substack.com. And I just started it. I only have 2 articles in there right now. And it is just my thoughts about the alcohol-free industry and community and what's lacking and what is really blossoming. It's just my thoughts about it. Yeah, the YouTube channel needs some more love and more episodes, but I'm working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time and to build all that, and totally get it. So I want to shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about the women in your life.
Okay.
I want to talk about the women that shaped you into the woman you are today. So who are these women, Mo, that have helped you become the woman that sits before me right now?
That is a very good question. I would say, I'm going to say this. Currently, a woman who is having great impact on my life is Heather Lowe from Ditch the Drink. I have to say, she took me on as a client, as a business consulting client, and she is one of the most enthusiastic cheerleaders you will ever know. And I was very, very lost when I called her and said, I know where I would like to be, and I know that I am not anywhere in the ballpark. And she has just slowly but surely said, now that's a win. Now that's a win. Don't you take that as a win? Yes, I do. Thanks, Heather. But Heather is very big in my life. The other person, and this is something that you and I talked about at dinner very briefly, was my mother. And my mother passed away in October. And I would say that her passing has had great impact on my life. And has shaped the beginning of this new chapter or season in my life of being alone, we said untethered. You and I talked about the feeling of being untethered.
We did.
And what that means. And I'm still working on that and where I am and how to navigate without the influence of my mother. It's big. It's very big. And it does influence every minute of my day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We did talk about that at dinner quite a bit because some of the listeners know my mom passed away in February. So it's been 4 months, and it is this very weird space to be in. And the word that we were sharing was untethered, because it felt I was just like, I feel weird. It's all I could describe how grief felt. And there was no, like, I can distract myself during grief, but it's hard to cope, because basically with coping, you just sit in it, especially for those of us who don't use substances.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and proudly so, but it's hard to sit in that shit sometimes. It is hard. And we're coming up on Father's Day tomorrow. This will air after Father's Day. And, you know, my dad's coming over, and I know it feels a little more hollow without my mom. And we're in the first, similar to you, we're in the first year of everything. And it's heavy, and but still not wanting to let the heaviness of it take over, but also respecting the grief part. And it's complicated. It's tough.
It is very complicated. It is very complicated, and it is very tough. And it is really hard to not have a buffer between you and your emotions. It's very, very hard. And I completely understand why people choose to buffer with whatever intoxicating thing there is. I understand why they do. When she was in the hospital one day, my son had come up for the weekend, and that day I had said to myself, man, I really would like a drink today. And I knew I wouldn't, but it was one of those, you know, your entire body is rubbing against a cheese grater, and you're just so raw, and you don't want to feel that way anymore. And he and I went out to dinner, and they had alcohol removed rosé on the menu. And I cannot explain how much that meant to me in that moment. It was so huge to me. It was a big deal. Yeah.
It does mean a lot. And it's tricky, because it just shows too how all the little pockets of our lives that alcohol can weave itself in and out of, regardless if we choose to stop drinking because we have to medically, or we choose to because the relationship became unhealthy. And so no matter what angle you're coming at this from, we're all facing similar challenges, and we're, like you said, we're getting there, because it's way bigger than O'Doul's now.
Yes.
Which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, what books are you reading, and whether they were specific to alcohol or not, but do you like to read? What books are you reading? What would you recommend for my listeners to dive into?
I just finished Mel Robbins. What is it? Let Them.
Oh,
I really appreciated that.
Let Them theory.
Yes, I enjoyed that. And I just finished a book. Oh, I feel bad. About alcohol-free hospitality in the industry, like in conferences at that level. And oh goodness, I think it's
a book.
Inclusive hospitality in the hospitality.
I'll look it up.
I don't remember. by Laura. Oh my goodness, it's not coming to me right now, but I just finished it, and it was really cool because she made these suggestions towards the end of the book about if you're at a conference, instead of all of the networking being centered around the bar at 5 o'clock, having activities. And she described a dueling piano bar situation where it wasn't necessarily about drinking. Some people were drinking, but a lot of people were not, and everyone was enjoying themselves and singing along and stuff like that. And but I thought that was really cool to add activities instead of just standing at a bar or standing at those little cocktail tables to have a conversation. And she suggested conversation areas that aren't necessarily in the thick of things, so that people can, excuse me. Oh, my stand is my phone. And someone's calling me.
Oh.
Okay, there we go.
But you're okay. You can tell on this side. You're good.
Oh, good. But I just loved that there are alternatives to what we're used to that would be really fun, and everyone gets involved instead of that social anxiety. I'm running to the bar to grab a drink and then parking myself over here. Her suggestions were about everyone sort of mingling and talking and cooperating and collaborating on different activities. I loved it. I loved what she was suggesting in that book. But those are the two things that I read lately. I did read You Are Not Stuck, and that was really good. I loved that.
Oh, good. That's on my list. That's on my list. She keynoted at Sober in the City in Tampa. So, yeah, very good. I'm going to check in that inclusive hospitality. It's interesting that in the book she gives those events and ideas, because we host an annual 4th of July party here at our house. And I've just gotten to the point where I'm one of the few non-drinkers. And so it gets old. Like I end up cleaning up the kitchen, and I mean, I engage with everyone, but I decided this year I was going to tap myself in as the events coordinator. So I have all different kind of events on top of the party itself. So there's going to be a fun piñata game. We're going to do middle-aged limbo. We're doing karaoke. Like, there's going to be all kinds of fun things. And that way it's not just centered around sitting around and drinking. And it can be fun.
I think I love it. I love it because
it's going to be really fun.
What?
Yes, exactly. Well, I was going to say I would love middle-aged limbo is going to be the best, because it'll be a bunch of 40s on up trying to limbo, and we're going to see what really happened to our flexibility in midlife.
Yeah. Do a lot of videos of that. That will be great.
So a couple more questions and we'll wrap this up. Okay. How do you lift women up, Mo?
I think you asked me that question. I honestly like listening to women's stories. I love listening. I have a very strong sense of curiosity, and I love hearing people's stories. And I love supporting women by sharing their stories, like what we're doing now. This is wonderful. I love having one-on-one conversations and then turning that around and sharing that, whether it's with you or on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. But people in general are really interesting. They're really fascinating, and their stories are really great to sit down and listen to. And sharing that with the greater world, I think is a wonderful thing to do. That's how I do that. Connect with women.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love podcasting, because I get to spend time with amazing people, men and women, and we have such interesting stories, and we can learn from one another and lift each other up. So I completely concur with that. So if someone wants to connect with you and look at the work you're doing on, your YouTube channel, Instagram, or just love to talk to you more about their own intolerance around alcohol, and maybe has nothing to do with choosing to live alcohol free for some of the other things we talked about, where can people find you?
Well, let's see. On Instagram, I am mocktail.mo. And I think we talked on Substack. It's Mo's alcohol-free drink quest. But I think you can find me on mocktail.substack.com. And then on YouTube, my channel is 0 equals more with Mocktail Mo.
Awesome. Well, great work you're doing. I love to follow the work and everything. And I just continue to wish you the best. I know we're going to see each other again, I'm sure, as we are in these sober circles. So thank you for coming on and taking the time to share your story and bring the beautiful work you're doing to my audience.
Oh, thank you. It is my pleasure. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. And if you all are looking to connect with me, I'm not hard to find either. The hockey side of my life is at kwings.com. The coaching side of my life is at tonywill.com. And then I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook at Tony Lentini Will. And I'm on Instagram at I'm Tony Will. And until next time.